Bonjour. Good morning, everyone. I am Reverend Pat Guthmann Haresch, the developmental minister of the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. Although the doors of our building are closed, to do our part in preventing the spread of coronavirus, we still are a vibrant congregation with open minds, spirits, and hearts. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and however you identify, today you are a part of our community. This morning, I welcome you into my home and our music director, Deirdre Kellerman's home. Thank you for inviting us in. It is a beautiful thing to think that even though we are in separate places, protecting ourselves and others by staying away from a crowd, here we are together online, listening, connecting, and soon singing together. I hope this moment finds you well. A few announcements. While the building is closed, staff are working, we're all working remotely and won't regularly be in the office. From home, we will be monitoring our emails. We're monitoring our emails as we usually would. Phone calls will not be checked very regularly, so email is really the best way to go. As we won't be seeing each other in person, it is more important than ever to be signed up for the EUU and that email newsletter, the weekly newsletter and special notices, and check our Facebook page and the web page for notices and updates. The EUU also has a weekly religious exploration lesson from Neo, our Director of Religious Exploration. There's community announcements and announcements about how to help our congregation and congregants and the community. So do look at the EUU. Also, we now have a subscription to Zoom teleconferencing, and many of our groups are starting to use Zoom to connect. If you go to our website and check our calendar, you will see that a lot's going on. Besides committees and groups continuing to meet using Zoom, we have a check-in for youth tonight. Look at our EUU. We'll have check-ins for adults during the week. And we have trainings on Zoom and a Thursday night sing-along with Deirdre. So do check out what's going on. To schedule a Zoom conference, please email Jen, our operations manager, at omsandmer@firstunitarian.ca. And if you have any trouble connecting with Zoom, please let us know and we'll help you figure it out. Thank you again to Isabel Burrows and all her helpers for organizing our check-in call list, and those of you who have volunteered to be callers. I think now we have 25 callers trying to call 300 people, and we keep adding people to both of those lists, the volunteers and the people to be called. If you have not received a call, do connect with Isabel or me, or again, Jen, our operations manager. May it just be physical distancing and not social distancing during this time. May we remain connected by phone and through every device and means we know how, through the electric highway. May it be so.
As we roll down not alone. 'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home. Settle down, it'll be all clear. Don't pay no mind to the demons, they fill you with fear. Trouble, it might drag you down. You get lost, you can always be found. Just know you're not alone. 'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
Thank you, Deirdre. Now is the time to light our chalice. Again, this is a chalice from our Chalice for the Road at First Unitarian. And also, maybe you have a chalice at home or a candle to light now as well. These words are from Reverend Nancy Reed McKee, who serves in Washington State, which I think you may know from the news has been very hard hit by coronavirus in the United States. Our community knows no boundary. We are not confined by the physical limit of walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community. We are here together in space. In my mind's eye, I see you, I hear you, I care about you, and I light this chalice, a symbol of this community, holding us all together, here and now. Let us sing the Chalice song.
Chalice, chalice, burning bright, help remind us with your light of how we'd like to live each day with love and truth helping lead the way.
Now is the time for the story of all ages. Today I'm going to be talking about making our homes like small sanctuaries, special places to live with our families or by ourselves. Are there quiet places for us to go in our house to be by ourselves? Are meals special? Are there objects around that are special to you? I want to show you something. This is Daphne. Her name is Daphne. Daphne is special to me. I don't think she's a favorite of my husband's, but she's a favorite of mine. She's something special that I bring with me every time I move. Actually, when we were moving around a lot of places for a long time, she was in storage, and I'm so glad she's with me again. Daphne reminds me of my grandfather, my mom's dad, who's no longer with us, but very strongly in spirit. And Daphne would sit in the room where we would all watch TV at Grandpa and Grandma's house. Grandma usually watching a sports thing like golf or football, right? But Daphne would be there present looking at us. When I see Daphne, I think of my grandpa. Are there things around your house that make you think of a story, of memories, of travels, of a special person in your life? Are there photos? If you're in a family and if you're a child and there's all these things around the house you're curious about, with all the time you're spending in the house, this would be a great time to find out, who's that person in that picture? Where did this come from? What is this all about? I have spent many really special times with my mom, walking around and finding about things. And then I look at them and I think of special people in our lives. So that's Daphne. There's many ways we can make our home be special. This week, there's starting on Wednesday, there's a special Jewish celebration that will last 8 days, 7 days in Jerusalem. It will begin on Wednesday, and it's called Pesach, or Passover. Passover is a time of thinking about the story of Exodus from the Bible. That was when the story is about when Jews were slaves in Egypt, and then the Pharaoh, or the ruler, freed them. And this is a celebration and a reminder of this time. But the Passover Seder is really what's central during this time. But there's a lot more than that. But first, the Seder. Seders are very special. The family will gather around. I have seen groups of more than 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, if it's in a synagogue, gather around. It's a family time with all the generations. You bring a stranger or someone who doesn't have a place for dinner, bring them too. People are around. They each will have their Haggadah, which is the service, which will tell you when to sing and when to read and what you're doing, and people take turns reading from that. You eat special foods like matzah. I'm late in buying matzah for Passover. It's those flat crackers, because you can't, you're not supposed to eat anything that has like bread that rises. That's called leavened. You're not supposed to eat anything like that. You eat something flat like matzah. And you'll have at the table a special Seder plate. You'll have eggs, and you'll have a shank bone from an animal, or there's options for vegetarians. You'll have greens, vegetables. You'll have bitter herbs like horseradish. Often you'll eat gefilte fish, which is an acquired taste and looks kind of funny, but I like it with horseradish. You'll have Haresch, which is this wonderful apple mixture. And all these foods have something to do with the story that you're reading. You sing songs like Dai-Dai-Enu, Dai-Dai-Enu, yes? These traditions were first written down around 800 years ago. So we're not sure how long these traditions might have been, but we know they were oral and practiced for centuries and then written down in the Mishnah. But that Jewish oral tradition written down by rabbis. But you have to prepare for Passover. There is a tradition of cleaning the house from basement to attic, right? You clean the house from top to bottom, and you remove any of those foods like the yeast breads that have leavened grains. Some families save a whole set of dishes and plates and silverware and tablecloths and pots and pans that you only bring out for Passover, and you put away again. You swap out all your things and then put it away again. And you save that for this special time. I didn't grow up celebrating Passover, although my parents were Jewish and then became Unitarian. The first time I ever celebrated a Passover Seder, I heard at 12 or 13 that where my mom and dad grew up, the synagogue where they grew up, was having a Seder for the community. And I dragged my mom, and it was really a very special celebration. It's been very special to me every chance I get to be part of a Passover Seder. May we hold in our hearts at this time that we find ourselves in, especially of separation, hold in our hearts all those Jewish families this year who will only be able to celebrate with their families by Zoom. In these days of the coronavirus, when we are going to be home so much, what might we do to make home special? Like a Passover celebration or a celebration of Easter or Christmas, or even once a week on Friday night or Saturday night, have a candlelit dinner with your family. Think about how to make the time at home special, even if you're alone. You can make it special. I've eaten a candlelight dinner by myself before. Might we make special meals together or alone? Maybe one night a week we should, as I said, have this candlelight dinner, open a bottle of champagne for your parents. Maybe you can have sparkling apple juice. Light a chalice before our meal, or make songs together. We can make songs together. I've been hearing about so many neighbors who are calling each other and opening the doors and either singing a song together, having a dance together, or Mayor Watson in Ottawa said we should make noise at a certain time. Maybe we can share something special at meals, like what we're thankful for. We can even do joys and concerns at home together. Whether we live alone or with a partner or a roommate or family, as we are spending so much time in our homes and together, how might we make these times in our home special? A celebration. How might we prepare our homes to be and make our homes to feel like small sanctuaries, which is what is said of Jewish homes. I'll talk more about that. But that's my question for you to ponder: how to make your space like a small sanctuary. Now let us sing hymn number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life.
Blessed Spirit of my life,
This is the time in the service when we are drawn closer to the heart of love at our center. May we hold in our hearts all those who have suffered loss and sickness during this time of coronavirus, those who are feeling fear and anxiety, loneliness, those who are most vulnerable. Let us hold all in need in our hearts and minds. May all in need experience compassion, grace, and mercy, food and shelter, peace of mind. In the words of the Reverend Gary Kowalski, fill us then with reverence and compassion for all who are our kin, cloud and sun, siblings and cousin, the multitude of beings who share this improbable and never to be repeated moment. Today I will place stones in the water that some of you have asked me to share. Place for you those you are thinking of, joys, concerns. A big stone for older folk impatient with self-isolation and family members trying to keep them safe. I hold this close to my heart. Thursday, April 2nd, marked 4 months since Marilyn Prevost, since her death. She is sorely missed. A stone in memory of George Samuel, who is also missed. We think of Marilyn, Maury, Matilda, and George. A stone for all moms and moms-to-be who are bringing a new life into our world during this unusual time. A big stone for all those who are having added mental health struggles right now, especially those who need hospitalization. This is my stone. It's April 5th, and April 5th would have been my mom and dad's wedding anniversary. I'm thinking of my mom in these times, whose life partner is no longer with her when she's self-isolating, and we all miss Dad so much. And you know what? A couple of joys. For all the March birthdays and that passed, I'm thinking of all the March birthdays that passed without big gatherings. Maybe we can sing happy birthday later today at coffee hour at fellowship time at 11:30. Sing happy birthday to all the March birthdays. I think we should. Now let us join together in a moment of silence. Breathe in, breathe out, and hold the joys and sorrows of this gathered community in our hearts. Let us take some time in our little sanctuaries and be still together. ancient words, well, centuries old words from the Persian poet Hafiz. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God or the divine? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you finally live with veracity and love. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and God? What is it in that sweet voice inside that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and action is sacred. This is the time for you to compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything you do is sacred. When I think of the topic of creating home, of feeling at home, creating sanctuary, a place of safety and love wherever one is, it conjures up so many memories and images for me. One train of thought brought me back to when I lived in Rochester, Minnesota, right before I attended seminary. Of course, I was a member of the Unitarian Universalist congregation there. Within the congregation, I was a part of a wonderful circle of women focusing on exploring earth spirituality, earth-based spirituality. We celebrated the annual cycle of the seasons, did things like watching the sun go down together on the night of summer solstice, celebrated a blue moon together, which was a lot of fun. And we celebrated important birthdays like 50 and 60, well before I was that old, right? We were there for each other at times of grief and divorce and retirements. One of the gifts we would give each other was a house blessing, a house ceremony when one of the members of the group moved into a new home. House blessings are part of many old world traditions, and we would gather up snippets from these traditions for use in our own house blessings. Hey, if you'd like a copy of a house blessing for your own, let me know. I'll send it to you. I remember as part of one of these ceremonies, a friend read this passage. It actually came from a calendar. Dwelling places have always been seen as possessing magic potential. To enter a home, one must first pass over the threshold, considered a sacred place in many cultures. Doors archetypically represent the portal between two worlds. To stand between them automatically puts you in the magical space known as the place in between. To the ancient Celts, any place that was not clearly in one world or another possessed inherent magical power. In your doorway, you are neither in nor out. You are in between, making your threshold an ideal place to chant blessings for the protection of your home. Now, it is or was a well-intended wish that together we would help bring a blessing, when we did these house blessings, to add a sense of safety and protection in our house ceremonies. But as I read this one passage again now, many years later, there's something amiss to me and not quite complete in this message. A notion of either or, as inside good, outside bad. My heart goes out to all who don't feel a sense of peace and quiet and safety in their home. if you need help, please call, right? Call and let us know. These are stressful times. It's also not all bad out there, right? There's some good. This idea that you need to protect yourself from the evils out there in the world and make somehow a place of complete safety in your own inner sanctum, there's something about that doesn't quite sit well with me. Like you and your people can be an island unto yourselves and can set yourself apart from the rest of the world. To me, as long as there are these demarcations, these thresholds, this is sacred, this is not, we will keep finding ourselves caught in between. Instead, what if we lived as if all was sacred? That with each step we take, we walk on sacred ground. And even in these days of social isolation, where we are trying to stay away from everybody, we are doing this because of the recognition of our interdependence. I'm not just trying to protect myself. I'm trying to protect you and all the vulnerable people I don't even know. I think my friend, the Reverend Sylvia Stocker, minister of the UU congregation in Brunswick, Maine, I think of what she said is getting best at what I'm thinking about. She made a homecoming sermon on sanctuary. She says sanctuary is not an actual place, it's a state of being. It's not an actual place, home. It's a state or sanctuary. It's a state of being. There is a UU creating home curriculum for our kids. Parents, just Google UU Tapestry of Faith, and you will be able to find, if you're looking for another thing to do with your kids, an alternative as we live on top of each other in these days ahead. Essentially, the intent of creating home is to help children develop their own sense of feeling at home whenever they are, wherever they are, and taking an active role in making it so. They learn rituals, even meditation, to help them calm and center themselves and mark space and time together as sacred, important. They work on wonderful UU-style table graces. They put on tents, table tents, and decorate with cardboard and bring them home to share with their families. They talk about belonging to the many circles of community, family, school, their congregation, the importance of right relationship and cooperation in these circles and with the earth. They learn about nature being a precious home to people and creatures. But how about for all the adults in the room, right? Are we comfortable in our skins? Have a sense of reverence and respect throughout our days, wherever we are, whatever we're doing? How are we developing this sense of being at home with ourselves, with others, and our world? Especially in this time of such extreme dis-ease. Are you taking care of yourself? Dare I ask if you have a spiritual practice? Do you feel comfortable in your own home or workplace or community? And if not, what are you doing? What could you do to make it feel more comfortable, safe, nurturing? Do you have practices that help you feel less stressed? What do you do to relax, or alternatively, what do you do to recharge your batteries? Do you have a sense of a strong network of support around you, of nurturing, caring friends and loved ones? Are you Zooming, FaceTiming, Skyping regularly, or doing the old-fashioned thing like picking up the phone and talking to someone so you don't lose a sense of connection? Are these and more are questions to ponder as we think about sanctuary as a state of being. I think of the celebration of Passover, with the Seder feast being at its center. Several times the temple was destroyed in Jerusalem. Jews exiled to distant places around the world, their practices shunned or outlawed. There was a spirit, a resolve that was stronger than the four walls of the temple. They would find themselves in foreign communities, often without a synagogue, a place of worship. Yet the tradition continued. How were they able to create a sense of sanctuary, of home? Probably lots of reasons. A strong sense of family, of community, values and faith, perhaps just the plain old desire to survive. But in thinking of today's theme, it just struck me, as I've mentioned, that the Jewish home is called, and continues to be called, a little sanctuary. Finding themselves without a place of worship in foreign lands, exiled Jews brought many of the communal practices, even the study of the Torah, the Bible, into their homes. To this day, many of the holiday and Sabbath observances at home, are at home, as opposed to the synagogue. And they're as meaningful and as significant to many Jews than services in the synagogue or temple. Lighting menorahs at home, eating latkes or potato pancakes, playing with dreidels during Hanukkah, Passover Seder meals, eating bread or apples dipped in honey, and feasting on Rosh Hashanah or the Jewish New Year, weekly Friday night Shabbat or Sabbath dinners. Yet according to Jewish author Anita Diamant, this little sanctuary is not just a museum for vestigial rituals and ceremonies. It is also a place where basic human needs are expressed and met, and should also be a place of peace, hospitality, beauty, a place to develop and support notions of charity and social justice that can be incorporated into daily life. The hope is that if all this can be created in the home, these values and practices can spill out into the greater world, past the threshold of the little sanctuary. Ritual and practice help to support deeply held values and promote action outside the sanctuary's four walls. Think about the situation that we are in now. Even within the four walls of your home, you are creating a larger sanctuary than the building that sits at 30 Cleary Avenue. Every phone call, every offer to volunteer, every Zoom conference, continuing the work of this congregation, donating to the food bank, continues to push our four walls into the world, outside the threshold of our home, yes? The door does not keep evil out and goodness in. Even within our four walls, we can spread out our love and generosity, and we can take in the love and generosity that's coming our way. Sacredness and goodness within, and push it outside and across the internet into the greater world. You see, creating home, creating sanctuary, isn't about a building or decorating a room, making sure you have all the right things in place. It isn't about empty rituals and ceremonies without meaning or without a connection to deeper values and principles. There is something more, much more. I refer back to Sylvia's sermon on sanctuary. She notes, true sanctuary can never be produced by a building or a room, much as we feel attached to our surroundings. Without the mother bird hatching her eggs and tending her chicks, the nest would simply be an amazing construction, not a sanctuary. Creating home is about making deep connections with ourselves, our surroundings, our circles of community, of promoting a sense of peace, hospitality, reverence, respect, authentically caring and nurturing. This is true in our homes, at work, wherever work is, whether it's at home or remotely, keeping a respectful, safe distance at the grocery store, and through our growing connections at FirstU. At the end of her sermon, Sylvia addresses her congregation. She says this, "And without us, our hearts beating out a love song to the universe, our spirits expanding as we learn to be our best selves, and our arms embracing the weary, hopeful, questing, and imperfect souls who come to our shores and through our doors, this church would not be a sanctuary. Insofar as our church is a sanctuary, we make it so." We all have a part in creating a sense of home, of sanctuary, or this FirstU community, and needn't wait for something else to happen or someone else to take care of it. The Unitarian Universalist Church of the Larger Fellowship, or CLF, was mainly developed as a resource for far-flung UUs without a congregation. It's very helpful now that we're all home. It's a great resource. It has a monthly online publication called Quest, which is often thought-provoking and even inspiring. So go to questformeaning.org, a wonderful UU resource while you're spending so much time at home, looking for inspiration and connection. In one of these publications, a long time ago when I used to get it in paper form, I found a poem titled Hanukkah from CLF's Minister of Lifespan Learning, Lynn Unger. You may have seen her poem Pandemic going around. I'll look for that online. Although this poem I'm going to read in part is about the winter celebration of Hanukkah, it seems fitting to me. Come down from the hills, declaring the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory. Come down, try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestication, domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation, that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle, unlearn the years of hiding, light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window, declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say you are the stuff from which such miracles are made. I love that line. You are the stuff from which such miracles are made. Contact your neighbors and shine a light in your window for each other. Go outside your door at a specified time and make noise together, or have a sing-along, or dance a jig at your doorways. I know some of you are doing that. Phone each other, Zoom each other, and your loved ones. Go ahead. Let's make those sacred and safe spaces of home and hearth. Let's try and create those and let it spill over into the world. We do need to create a sense of safety and protection for ourselves, centering places. Sometimes we do need to hold ourselves up, cut ourselves off, turn off the news, cut ourselves off from the world for healing and well-being. But let us not spend too much time behind our own doors. May the closed-up corners of our world be staging places for much more as we are able. May we open the doors and our arms, step over the threshold, and boldly wage peace, respect, love, and hospitality. We can even do this on the internet. Let our hearts beat out a love song to the universe, embrace the weary, hopeful, questing, and imperfect souls who come to our shores and through our doors. May we be a sanctuary to ourselves and each other, all those who are members of the human family and family of nature. During this time, do try to cultivate a sense of a little sanctuary. Have a chalice to light. Have candlelit dinners, even if you live alone. Contemplate all that is in your home, like photos and Daphne. Things that remind you of all that has been your life and remind you of those who may be distant, but you hold so close in your heart. May we carry and cultivate a sense of home and sanctuary in all that we do. Take each step as though we were breathing and walking on sacred ground. And remember, you are the stuff from which miracles are made. May it be so. This is the time in the service that we usually would accept the offering. You may go to our website or contact the finance manager at FM as in me at firstunitarianottawa.ca to find out how you might keep with your pledge, keep it up, or make a donation during these times, either to the congregation or to our fund for those in need. We give our gifts freely. We receive gifts gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of our congregation, serving human wholeness, caring for our planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. Let us sing hymn number 1. May nothing evil cross this door.
May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though the world grows chill, will keep you warm. Peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching our lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. With laughter drown the raucous shouts, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in.
As we extinguish the chalice, I read William Stafford's poem, You reading? Be ready. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor? What scent of old wood hovers? What softened sound from outside fills the air? Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry? Wherever you go right now, are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found. Carry into evening all that you want from this day. That this interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around. May it be so, and let us sing, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Quod vidas quari de justitia, tenurimo cielum potuum, source de vie, vive moi,
Go in peace, go in joy, go in love, and all be well. Thank you, and good morning.